Hey guys, Stephen here from Heresy Academy. In this video I'm going to set up an enemy and it's going to walk back and forth like it's patrolling and also set up an animation for it. So it's only going to walk, so it's only going to have a walk animation unless later on I decide to give it like a shoot animation, stuff like that. So for this now I'm going to actually get rid of the buzzsaw. I like what I've got on it. I mean, I've got circle collider, I've got a kill player. The transform position doesn't really matter, but I'm going to drag it and put it into a prefab first, just so I can just drag it in later on if I want it. Although I'm working on another asset for the buzzsaw anyway, so I may change how that looks. I'm going to delete that from here, and then I'm going to try and pick, not that one, so floor 13. I've got floor 13 there. And we have to jump over it, don't we? Okay, hang on. Yeah, you can jump that easily enough. Maybe we'll move that coin. Keep clicking the canvas, but that's just because that's how it works. Move the coin out there a little bit, just so I can jump on there, and this one, that'll do. Just to sort, I'm just going to show you how to set up the patrolling as well, because I've not set up the map properly how I want it. I'm going to want to extend it there, make sure the background everything follows along, but we'll do that in later videos. So I'm setting up so it'll walk in between these places here. Now the enemy is, well, I'll show you the enemy sprite because I'm going to drag it in now. Basically just the same player sprite, but I've just changed some colouring and some shadowing just so it looks a bit more different. So I'm going to go into the sprites here, which will close off a gold coin. Could probably do putting these into folders themselves maybe. I'm just going to drag it and drop it into the sprites folder, which I didn't do. Put it into the sprite folder there. So we want to set it up the same as this, so it's 30 pixels per unit, it's a multiple image and it's point no filter. So 30 pixels per unit, multiple images, and point no filter. Click on apply, jump in here, you can slice it automatically, because as we already know it does a decent enough job. Click on apply, and then close this off. Now I'm not going to drag it in and then start trying to set things up for it, because essentially everything on the player is good. Everything on the player is good for being the enemy as well. So what I'm going to do, the only thing I'm going to do is a sprite renderer. If I close this off, we'll get rid of the player script as well and change the animator. I'm just going to grab the player and I'm going to duplicate it. I'm just going to drag it out so it's sat in here, and this is going to be our enemy. Now this may not work for you guys if you have completely different setup for your enemies, like you want to fly or to defy gravity, stuff like that, but this is the most effective way for me. Also, actually, I do want to go back into my sprite editor. I'm just going to enemy idle for the first one. What's this one? This was your right, it's your left foot. Enemy left and enemy right. Just going to name them just for later on. Enemy right. So click on apply. Exit that now, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my idle sprite for the enemy. So go to the sprite renderer, grab the enemy idle sprite. There we go. Now I don't have to set up the animation right now, but if I click play, you'll see it play the play animation and it'll mess up with the script. So I'll get rid of the player script because we don't want to control it. As for the animator, I've got the player here, but we don't want to duplicate that, so we want to stop that. But let's say the walking animation. Where does it go to the enemy? Make sure you click on the enemy and open up your animation. The animation window here. And you got the enemy sprite. This is an idle animation, walking and jump. So what you want to make sure you do, well, we'll get rid of this animator, we'll make a new one. There we go. So create, and then we're going to create our first animation for the enemy. Well, probably our last one to be fair. Enemy walk. Save that. So now you see over here an animator. It has an enemy controller. It's created itself a controller, and we've got the enemy walk here. So now go down to the sprites, and we start off with the enemy idle sprite. Just drag this in. Then we click the enemy left sprite and drag this into the next point. Go back to the idle. This is very much the same as how we set up the player. And get the right there. Let's do it. So we can change the speed and everything as we like. So you can see there's a bit more space in between there. And you can zoom in with the mouse wheel here to sort of try and drag it in and make it a bit quicker, because you want it to sort of match up with the character speed as well. It looks like it's running now. Let me drag this out a bit more. And obviously have it do equal spaces. And what you could do is you could actually drag this out all the way over here, about there, and go about there. No, you have to mess around proper. What I was thinking of doing is make it take one step, then wait, and then one step, then wait. But sorry, yeah, that actually might work. You just drag this one over here. What you have to do then, I suppose, is just copy and paste that over here. So yeah, you can mess around with the animation itself, make it take one step at a time, stuff like that. So get rid of that idle one, sorry. So I'll drop this here to about half a second, just for now, just to space it out. So if you do this at about 1/10, then 20th, 1.3. It's alright, it does jump a bit though, which is quite a concern, but we'll leave it as it is for now. So now you can see the animator, it's got the control of the enemy and then the enemy controller. You could open this up like we did with the coin. It's, you know, it's in there on the entry, and it's all we want it to be is on the entry. It's the only thing it's going to do. But I don't want to spend too much time trying to fine tune the animation, because then it's just take a long time in the video. So at the moment, if you click play, it's just going to walk. I've got rid of the background. I keep clicking on it, but I'll put it back in afterwards. But yeah, so you can just see it walking about. It won't even kill a player yet or anything, but you know, you can stand on it, jump on it, you can move it along, which is for some reason what you don't want it to do. Oh yeah, it's got the rigid body, so you take off the rigid body, otherwise you can just do this to your enemy in a bit and say bye to it. We can see as well, these aren't solid objects because of how I set up the platforms to be. So I'll have to change that, to be fair. But for now though, for that I'll just add another collider for now. I don't know how to do that to it. Which ones do we move now? Is it 13? Okay, so we'll add a box collider onto number 13. I'll change the platforms how they're set up afterwards. Number 13 here, come on. Change the offset on the Y, drag this down, change the X so it goes over here. Change the size on the X so it shrinks it a bit. When you want to try and match it up a decent amount. And then click on Edit Collider there, so you can go and drag one of these points. Pull it to about there, pull that to about there. You don't need to worry about this little bit here because you're not going to fall through it, but you can tighten it up and stuff. And then what you want to do is copy that component and with 17, paste component as new. edit. You don't need to edit the collider. It's actually gone onto its piece there, and that's just so now if you click play, it acts as a solid object. But I'm going to change the platforms and everything before I do a level where you've got more jump space and stuff, because I want to change it so the edges aren't completely all dirt, because if you have a platform you want to have a better edge. But now you see you can't go on it. You should be able to push him to a certain extent, but you now get stuck in between those two. But you never really want to push the what's it called? You don't want to push your enemies anyway. But yeah, that's changing putting some box gliders onto these. What I want to do next, I say I want to get rid of Rigidbody. Ignore me if I said that, because I want my Rigidbody. Yeah, so let's get rid of it. But what I want to do though is I do want to add in my kill player script. Yeah, kill player. And then the level manager is just going to be a level manager there. Drag that object back in. So now if you touch the enemy, you'll die, which you don't obviously. You don't want to just keep on previews and previews. Go into your scripts folder. I'm going to create a new C# script and that's enemy movement. Open this up. This behavior we're going to create now is called patrolling behavior, and basically that's what you're going to do. You're going to set up the enemy to walk back and forth. So if you notice as well, no, don't click floor. Got an object on here called floor check, but it's going to be irrelevant to the player because you're never going to the enemy, because you're never going to need to jump. You're never going to need to use it. But we are going to use this object in another way and basically set it up so about here or here. So basically say like the same way as the ground. If you touch solid object, if you touch what you call to be call it a wall, or you could even say floor, I suppose. Then you tell it to turn around and walk the other way, sort of thing. So I'll set it up there now. I'll change this symbol so I'll be able to see it a bit better. It stands out. But yeah, so that's just that. So I'm just going to save that and drop back over here to manual develop now. So it's open, and you could actually pretty much copy some stuff out of here, but I'll type it out just to get you guys working on used to working on the code. So first of all, I want to get a private Rigidbody 2D, make sure it's 2D, and this is from the enemy rig. And then what I want to do is get a public float. I'm going to get 2 public floats, to be fair. So the first one will be our move speed, how much we move, and the next one I'm going to get. I'll show you that as I come to it, I suppose. I don't want to confuse you. So what I'm going to start off with then is a public bool, and that's going to be called walk right or left. No, call it walk right. We'll work with the walk right, so we're always working for the positive side, and right is on the going towards the positive on the X. So this is basically the bit where you can copy from the player script, because you get a public transform. This time it's a wall check. Then a public float, so I'll move this now into the move speed, and the float is going to be called the wall check rad. So just like the floor check, I'm giving it a little radius. Then I want to get a public, not a physics update behavior. Get a public layer mask. If you remember what that is, brings up that drop down menu and we decide what the options are. And this is just what we call wall, and decide what the walls are. Then we want to get a private bool, and I'm just going to call it is wall. Okay, then the start function, I'm going to get our enemy rig, and this is going to be equal to get component, and the component we're going to get is a Rigidbody 2D. Okay. Are you red? Oh, you're not now. Okay. So now on the update function, what we first want to check. So if you've hit a wall, you want to set is wall here. So if you hit the wall, you want this to be the same, basically the same as what you've done with the player object, where you check a physics, a little physics, what's called function, and that returns like a true or false value. So then that will determine if isWall is true or false. That's why we're making it equal to it now. So the function we want to use is physics2d. So and it's the may not. Oh yeah, no, sorry. Physics2d dot, is it in here? Overlap, yeah. Overlap circle, and if the bits of information we want to use is our sorry, I've got a dodgy throat. Well, sorry, I forgot what I'm doing. Oh yeah, the public transform. So I'm using my public transform here. So I want to get a wall check dot position. So this is the position of that blank empty object we've set before I started moving before, which works the same as the ground check on the player object. I want to get the wall check radius, which we'll set up later. We'll go with 0.1, and then wall, basically, which is checking against what object we are hitting. So if if isWall is true, then we want to open the curly brackets, and simply enough, we want to get our walk right, and this wants to be equal to. You can do walk right equals false if you want, or you just invert the walk right, so you make it false, make it not true. And then what you want to do down here if you walk right, again you close it off like that, and that says if it's true. So if it's true, then what you want to do is get the transform dot position. I don't know, ignore me please. You want to get your scale first. I mean, you can do the position, but we're not going to do position, we're going to use velocity. You're going to take your local scale, and then it's going to be equal to a new vector 3. So I think we did this in our in the player script as well. So you get the new vector 3, and what you want to do, so our enemy is walking right now, so make sure it's set to 1F, 1F, and 1F. What you need to do as well, I mentioned it once in the player script, is if it's 1F, this is the scale. So if you've used like 2.3 and 5.7 and all this stuff with the scale, or even minus objects, you're going to want to instantiate them up here somewhere, make a new vector, and then call that information in here, sort of thing. If that makes sense. It's just if you've used different values. And then what we want to do is get the enemy rig dot velocity. This is our rigid body that we've got at the top, our rigid body 2D. Get its velocity and set it to a new vector 2, and this is going to be our move speed. The value set for our move speed, like we've done with the player. And enemy rig dot velocity dot y, because you don't want to mess around with the y. And the enemy's not going to jump or anything. So then what you want to do, this is now said if it's walking right. If it's not, then the only other thing it can do is walk left. So give it an else statement, open up some curlies, and then basically you want to reverse everything. So transform dot local scale equals a new vector 3. And I'm going to go with a -1f, then a 1f, and a 1f, because I'm not changing the y and the z. And the enemy rig dot velocity equals new vector 2 move speed, then I've done it again, enemy rig dot velocity dot y, and make sure you just minus your move speed, because then you'll be facing the other direction and you'll move in the other direction. So save this and hopefully it'll work. We do need to set up a couple of things up though. But the rigid body for the enemy is going to get component rigid body 2D, because we're only going to attach this to enemies. So it's going to get that instance of that object's rigid body in the start function, and then using the physics provided, you're going to set the isWall condition or isWall bool to be equal to the physics2d.overlap circle. And that's going to be what we set up in a minute, and it's going to check the position of our object, of the wall position object, or the wall check object. We'll give it a radius, we'll give it 0.1, so it gives it sort of a fine define circle, and then it's going to check it against what we tell it is a wall. And then if this comes back as true, so if you're saying that the position of this with the radius is overlapping a wall, it'll come back as true, which will make the is wall true. So this will start running, because if is wall is true, then walking right, so walking this way, is now set to not walking right. And it'll go that way, this way, that way, this way, that way. And then if you are walking right, you'll transform dot local scale equals new vector 3. Yeah, sorry. I was just reading this and I just forgot something. But yeah, so if you are hitting a wall and you're walking right, it will set it to not walk right. And you won't be hitting a wall. No, I think I have forgot something here. So if you are hitting a wall, then you're not. So I think I may need to put something else. So save this script, drop it into Unity. Let it compile, of course. I have a feeling that it's not going to work. So it's going to drop down and hit the accolade here. And it's not doing anything. Actually, it's not doing anything because I've not added the script. So make sure you add the enemy movement script over here. Movement speed, what have we got the player at? The player movement speed is 5, so we'll give the enemy 5. We'll give this 0.1. And then the floor check object is going to be there, but we'll name it to wall check. And for the what is a wall, you can basically use the same as ground or floor, just because these are your ground objects anyway, and it's going to be run off this object, so make sure it's in front of it, so it hits there. So we save it, and it bounces across. So you can see the speed there is a bit too much, so I'll drop down the speed. Oh no, so it seems right. So I thought I'd forgotten something there, but the actual walking right condition, it just gets triggered, basically just reverses its direction, like it's turned off, and then it's not walking right again, it reverses its direction. So yeah, I mean obviously you'll have a bigger map, so you could have the enemy over here walking along. If you do walk off the edge, the enemy, like if this wasn't here, it would just walk off the edge and it'll fall. You could set it up if you didn't want to have two pieces in the way. You can set up like an edge. See if I can just grab this or something. You could set this up. Oh, what are you doing? So you could set it up so that it'll trigger if it's touching, like if it goes over an edge, and then it'll just turn back instead. Let's try to show you that. So have it, instead of having this object, it'll walk all the way along here, and then when it'll be in front and below, so it'll be like there. So it'll go over the edge before the player touches it, and then it'll just reverse its decision and go back and hit the wall and come back, sort of thing. So it works in the very same way. So that's how you set up there. So again, now click play because I want to show you as well. See if the enemy does kill you. It should do if you have that script attached. And it doesn't. Why doesn't it? Go back to the enemy. Kill player. Ooh, just check now. That'll do. It's triggered. There we go. We've got a circle collide on this as well, and I made a brief mention of that. That may have it so you got to do like headshots and stuff that you kill, but I may change my mind on that one. Depends if I set up the shooting afterwards. So now let's try it again. Oh dear. Perhaps I made the wrong decision on that one. Let me just open up that script because I may have just forgotten what to do. Yeah. So on trigger enter, that's fine. So what I'll do then is I'll edit this one for now. In fact, no, you know what? I'll just copy this copy that component, and then paste the component as new, so it's the exact same. Set that one to be as trigger, so it doesn't like collide with each other. Do it that way, and I make some changes afterwards and change that. But now it won't fall through the ground. Like I said, this is just setting up now, so if you touch an enemy, it kills you. Oosh. It goes on. Oosh. And you die again. And that is how you set up your enemy. So let's put some nice pretty canvas back on. Keep dying. There we go. But yeah, so that's it for this video. And if you like the video, then be sure to give it a like underneath. I forgot I can double jump. But yeah. And subscribe to see the updates on this project and many more projects to come.